Hey you guys, what's up? This is the Anime Blaze coming to you with another video. Uh, right now I'm not in the particularly best, I'm not particularly feeling too well, but got kind of a headache, allergies messing with me a little bit, but I'm all good. Uh, I rarely get allergies that much nowadays, but so shouldn't mess with me too much. But in this particular video, I want to talk to you guys about uh, top 10 anime shows and well, my top 10 anime shows, and the whole thing of the top 10. Now, for a while, it took me. I mean, I thought it was hard just to create a top five animes. The first time I created my top five anime shows, it was sort of easy, but not too easy. At first, I was like, I can't just pick any kind of shows just to stick in there. And for a while, I kind of watched a few shows and just stuck them in there. I was like, nah, those can't be in my top five. So, I eventually fixed it to where these are uh, these are in fact the shows that are in my top five, and that sort of thing. And later on, it took me even a little while longer to create another five to put in to create a top 10. So and you don't want to just stick in random shows just to put in there. It has to be shows that uh, particularly stick out to you, the viewer, me, you, everybody else. So everybody's top 10 is pretty much different. Not no two people have the same top 10, and the top 10 for everybody has to be shows that they don't just randomly go and pick. It has to be shows that particularly interest them, or yeah, that particularly interest them or and seem a little bit different from other shows to make them be able to put them in their favorites all together, that sort of thing. So with that being said, let's get started on my top 10. At number one, we have Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex. And I've been wanting to do a review on this show for a while, but I'll probably wait till my this whole allergy is and everything get out of the way before I do a review on it. Because I'm really looking forward to doing that review. Uh, yeah, uh, I'll get to that later. Number two, High School of the Dead. Uh, Very good anime show by my standards. It had an awesome soundtrack, and it was like I've seen it, and people said it before, and I'll say it. It is really one of the only anime shows that to actually do zombies right. Zombie it sort of did zombies there, but not too well. Uh, is it a Korewa zombie desu ka? Is this a zombie or is it a zombie? That show also did zombies, but not really in the type of sense of the zombies that we're looking for, like flesh eating zombies. Uh, and this one literally did the whole Walking Dead kind of thing, with the zombies and post apocalyptic kind of world, that sort of thing, worldwide chaos, everything running a mess and everything. So yeah, I really appreciate this show. It was kind of hard to place it under Ghost in the Shell because originally when I was first creating my top five, I was like, man, do I want to put this at number one? But I was like, nah, Ghost in the Shell has to go first. So I did that. Number three, we have Shiki, one of the only anime shows that I know of personally that actually did vampires right. Uh, it not reinvented, but it reinstalled the ideas of horror in animes. We don't really see too much horror we don't really see too much horror anime shows anymore. And if we do, it's just like a short one. One of them I have is Higurashi. The only one that they released in the U.S. was season one, but and the bad part about it is that season one was like the only real horror aspect of the whole show. After that, season two kind of took its way and made it into like just a mystery kind of story. and it just answered a lot of questions that we had about the first season. So that was about it. Uh, it had a lot of flaws there, but yeah. Shiki reinvented vampires and basically made its way into my top 5, into my top 10 also. So next, number 4, Kiba. Now, another thing I will say about my top 5, my top 10, is that it was just going to be shows that like appeal to me, that sort of thing. But at first, I was looking for a show that was sort of good. It wasn't good and it wasn't bad. Like underrated that nobody really knew about, and if they did know about it, they didn't really have too much of a bad opinion of it. And number 4 for my top 10 is Kiba, because that's the show that really fits that whole standpoint for me. Um, it what's the word I'm looking for? It had a decent enough action to keep the story going. Uh, had some crazy stuff going on in it that had me also interested. It's like sci-fi, fantasy, a whole bunch of different elements of that all into one show. And it wasn't the best of shows, but it wasn't bad either. It wasn't the best of shows, and it wasn't too good. So I'd give it around a C, and it's a pretty good show. I'd recommend for anybody to watch that. Like for a starter anime show, it's definitely a cool show to watch if you want to start out on anime. Uh, Number 5, MegaMan Starforce. Now, a lot of people go and say that MegaMan Starforce is uh, nothing but like garbage compared to Mega Man Battle Network or a Mega Man NT Warrior. But I have to say that I don't necessarily agree with them on that. Specifically for the fact that this show appealed to me a little bit more. Now, uh, I don't know what it is. It just seems that like for so long, Capcom was so stuck on the fact of, oh, like I guess it was so stuck on the fact of how Mega Man uh was like computer data and stuff. It seemed like it was so stuck on the fact that he was inside that pets that everybody carried around. He was their Navi, that sort of thing. And I guess I kind of got annoyed of it. Of course, Mega Man did come into the real world occasionally, that sort of thing, but he wasn't there all the time. So that pretty much defeated the purpose. If he wasn't there in real life, what was the sense in even watching it all the time? Mega Man Star Force pretty much to me reinvented the whole idea of that. Season one, not season one, but the whole series revolved around Geo Stellar, this fifth grader, I guess you could say, who actually could transform into Mega Man via the help of this Amian who's a electromagnetic alien that fuses with them. But the thing is, you can't just fuse with anybody. You have to match their wavelength, that sort of thing. And Geo could actually transform into Mega Man in real life. He wasn't like confined to one of those pets or trancers or anything, one of those things that everybody was carrying around, or a star carrier. Uh, he wasn't confined to those. He was free to move about in real life, battle, that sort of thing. And Mega Man Star Force really just took me by surprise and all that. And it had a lot of differences between it and Mega Man NT Warrior that I liked a little bit better. A lot of people say the constellations was nothing but a gimmick, but if it's a gimmick, then I think it was a great one. Uh, Season 2 had a great plot and all that too. So yeah, check out Mega Man Star Force. If I'm not mistaken, I believe they released the first episodes that Viz ever did. They released to the UK, which is kind of messed up, but I'll find some way to import it eventually. I'll get an all region DVD player. That's what the plan is. Uh, but I digress. Number 6, Witch Hunter Robin. Now, this series, it's another one of those series that I could say uh, it's one of those underrated series, uh, kind of like Kiba. It's not too good and it's not too bad. It's borderline. Um, you know, it touches on a lot. I mean, I guess when I watched it, it was just one of those shows that just interested me, and uh, I've just been really into the show. Uh, Seeing the characters, seeing what the show, some of the themes of the show were about, like different religions, witch hunts, that sort of thing, like the Salem witch trials. Uh, I mean, it doesn't really. I don't think it alludes to anything like that, like the Salem witch trials or anything like that. But it does kind of make the person who's watching it want to go back and research some of the stuff for themselves to see what these witches are actually going through on the show and all this stuff. So, that sort of thing. Um, like craft users, all that good stuff. I definitely recommend checking it out. It's not that bad of a show. It has a few downsides to it, but I guarantee you that it's not as bad as it seems. All right, number 7, Hellgirl. Hellgirl was a pretty decent show. Uh, I'd give it a B. If not an A, I'd give it a B. It has an awesome soundtrack behind it. Now, the thing I keep saying about the soundtracks is uh, soundtracks can, I mean, some people say that a show can have like the best story ever. And I agree with that. Shows can have some of the best stories ever, but to me, it really depends on the soundtrack too, sometimes. I mean, it's not necessarily a factor in determining whether I like the show or not, but it definitely, uh, it definitely determines how much I like the show. Like, do I like it more because it has a good soundtrack to it? Uh, that sort of thing. Like Ghost in the Shell has one of the best soundtracks. Hellgirl has a good soundtrack too. Uh, so it definitely goes up on my list. So if I were to recommend it to somebody, I'd say yeah, Hellgirl is definitely the way to go. That sort of thing. And it has a good storyline. Sin and punishment, that sort of thing. What do you do making a deal? Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? That sort of thing. It's a really good show to watch. Uh, yeah. Number 8, Blue Dragon. Now, I guess you could sort of say this is the show that is sort of biased on to be in my top 10. One being the fact of how I haven't seen Blue Dragon since it was on Cartoon Network. Now, you're probably saying, why would I pick a show that aired so many years ago? Well, the show, it really did interest me at the time. And I still like the show. And really thought, when I thought about it, it really is one of my favorite shows ever. It's hard to describe. Has a good storyline. It's drawn, the art style is by the guy who made Dragon Ball Z, so art style is going to look a lot similar. He made Blue Dragon, Dragon Quest, art style for that, Dragon Ball Z, all of that stuff. So if you love that, you're definitely going to like this show. Uh, they showed it on Cartoon Network, but it was edited, and so I figured something told me that there was going to be, uh, like an uncut or an uncensored kind of thing on the show. I mean, it's still TV 14. The only thing that Cartoon Network did was they edited out a lot of the stuff that could be considered suggestive and all that stuff for the younger audience to make the show be for a younger demographic. And I'll do a whole video on that later on because I mean it sort of makes sense, but it kind of doesn't make sense in a way. Uh, but just a few things. But even watching the censored version, something told me that the show was going to have an uncensored and like an uncut kind of thing for the show. Something about it just told me that. And let me tell you that there was so I was watching the show a couple of days ago, and there were so many things about the show that they took out that could have been considered suggestive. I was like, wow, wow. I was like, what was it? And it makes you think like, what was the point in even putting it on Cartoon Network if you had it edited out edit out so much stuff that could be considered suggestive. No point in it. But they also have a season 2. I think it was called The Trials of the Shadow Wielders or something like that. They also had a second season, so I'm definitely looking forward to checking out the second season of Blue Dragon. Definitely. I just have to finish the first 51 because they never finished airing it on TV. So yeah. Number 9. This is a show that a lot of people do not like. Me, myself in particular, I love the show. I think it was awesome. I think it's one of the best comedy anime shows ever. And I'll do a whole video over comedy anime too in a different video because there's different aspects to that. And but yeah, the name of the show is Bobobo-bo Bo-bobo. Now, a lot of you guys know about that show. Some people, including a friend of mine, I asked her, does she remember that show? She said yes. She said, yeah, I remember that show. The show makes isn't that whole show basically filler? And I said yes, but that's what makes the show funny. The lack of a sense of a plot in the storyline. Well, there is a plot in the storyline, but the characters, like the characters even know this is one of the things I guess I can just mention beforehand. Right now, is that one of the things that think makes this show funny and a lot of other anime shows funny is that some anime shows, such as comedy anime shows, the characters know that they're in a storyline, but they take the storyline into their own hands and they totally disregard the storyline for what it is and do what they feel like doing. Bobobo does the same thing. Bobobo does like crazy stuff out of nowhere, crazy attacks, fist of the nose hair, different attacks that make no sense, an elevator, running upstairs. The show makes no sense. To attack an enemy, he attacks his friends along with them. There's a guy that uses farts to attack. Gas can, that's his name, Gas Can. Hair hunters, that sort of thing. And the show is really just entertaining. And there's a lot of interaction between the characters and the narrator. A lot of interaction. It's hilarious. Definitely recommend you guys go and check out the show. A matter of fact, Bobobo-bo Bo-bobo is having, I think it's in April 10th, if I'm not mistaken. They're releasing the collection 1 for the whole series. So it's the episode. It's like half of the series, episodes 1 through 38, and you definitely know I got to get that. It's very hilarious. If you guys need something to check out that show. It's definitely worth it. All right, next up in my list we have Romeo X Juliet. Now, to describe this show and going on with with what somebody said who was on board with the project of the show, who created it, he said that anime allows them to do a lot of things. They said they wanted to take one of Shakespeare's plays or something that he did and create it into like a whole new light. And they were trying to figure out a good way to do that. And they said that anime was one of the best ways to do that because it allows you to do a lot of things that real life doesn't allow you to do, like that and like live action and stuff. It allows you to do a lot of things that you don't normally see. And this show takes a whole new aspect on the whole Romeo and Juliet thing. And the play Romeo, Romeo was the hero who was always trying to. Romeo was the guy who was always trying to be the hero, saving Juliet, all this other stuff. But in the show, Juliet is pretty much the whole hero. If you ask me, the story is pretty much told from her perspective. You know, it's debatable in some cases, but I definitely got to say that the story is mostly told from her perspective. She's the hero in a lot of ways. She's a heroine. She goes and saves Romeo even on occasions. Romeo saves her, but she goes and saves him on occasion. So that's really, really something you don't normally see. and she's actually a better fighter than what most people might think. Uh, Definitely worth checking out. Uh, had a great musical score to it. No downsides to this anime whatsoever. Great take on the play. Great, great, great. So, now that we're through my whole anime list, you know, as I look back on it, there my shows that I've had in my top 10 anime list span from a lot of different varied kinds of things, like different kind of genres. You know, I went from sci-fi to horror to more horror to fantasy to sci-fi and horror again and action and comedy, romance, tragedies. So you know, I mean, it really is. I guess one thing you can always say whenever you create a top five or a top 10 or whatever kind of list you're trying to do here is that you never know what kind of shows are going to be in that list, and it's always good to watch different kinds of anime shows. And, you know, I'm not saying that you can't stick to watching one kind of genre, one type of show, but you know it's kind of cool to watch to see like a top 10 list that has like a whole bunch of different variations of different titles in there, and like it's kind of like I guess self gratitude in a way. It's like when you look back on it, you're like, man, these are a lot of different kind of shows. It kind of reflects the kind of shows you watch in a way, and I guess that's what it is with me. Uh, you know, all those different types of shows in there. So yeah. With that being said, this is the end of my top 10 video of my top 10 favorite animes. I hope you guys watched all the way through. If you made it this far, you know, good. Because, you know, just recently I was able to make videos longer, but I'm probably not going to do that too often. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my video, my top 10 favorite animes. Uh, you can do a top 10 if you want. You don't necessarily have to do a video response. You can make a comment of it, make your own separate video of your top 10 favorite anime shows, uh, wherever you feel like it, I guess. What do you think of my top 10? All that. Leave everything that you think should be related to this video in the comments. Leaving a message, comment, rate, subscribe. I'll see you guys later.